Hello, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're definitely diving into the deep end with a huge splash of truth, facts, evidence, information, and proof. Swim. Say what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen, how we hear, how we speak, how we hear what we're listening to when we speak, how a listener hears what we're saying, if what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding, because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out. Welcome to the SWYM-ing Pool with your host, Travis Bridges.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Here's hoping you're having a fantastic Wednesday evening. Man, about 2 years ago, I never thought that I would be in a place like this in so many ways. In front of a camera, for sure. I started out with my saxophone, during the COVID concert series, and it led to this. It's amazing how things start one way and they totally end up another way. And I'm going to be talking about changing and grooving and, keeping up with, let's see. Wow. Continuing to move on. I have a couple of subjects tonight. Anyway, welcome to the SWYM-ing Pool. SWYM, the acronym for Say What You Mean. I'm Travis Bridges. You heard that earlier. I just like to say it again. And I have a couple of subjects tonight. One is going to be not a surprise, but I'm just going to hold off on it because it's a little intense for me. Hey, Kimberly, and hello, Christine. How you both doing? Thank you so much. I love you both. I appreciate you being loyal supporters. And I was thinking just before I went on, it's like I'm kind of still in transition. I've broken down. And I promise, man, when I do get the opportunity to get back in my normal habitat, I'm going to really bring the noise, because I've been saying, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I'm getting used to being in front of the camera still, but I'm kind of okay with that. When I do get settled again, which won't be long, I'm going to really bring out the big guns and show some more of my production skills and talent, and maybe even some different type guests. I have some plans. I'm just kind of holding off on them and getting used to this. My subjects tonight are Black history. History that's black. Of course, no other country that I know of celebrates a month for Black history. Nowhere else but the USA. But it's what we do, and we just participate in it. I know I do. It is what it is, and I'm just kind of sort of going along with it. I'm going to particularly talk about something that happened in the news just recently. I think it happened today, that has to do with Black history. So I'm going to get on that. I'm going to also talk about, as I mentioned before, going through changes when you set up a plan and it doesn't necessarily work the way you think it works. You have to really dig in deep and keep going. And then I'm going to have some family therapy, kind of sort of for myself. I'm going to share something with you that's really deep and intense and probably long awaited for me, but I'm going to share it in a few minutes. So do me a favor, hold the spot you got. I'll be right back. And then I'm going to talk about those things. They're going to be interesting, and I hope I can last for an hour. I'm alone tonight. I don't have a guest, one canned at all. It's just going to be me. So I'll be right back. Okay, don't move.
The Swimming Pool with Travis Bridges is a talk segment about talking. Talk about talking? Yes, talk about talking. It's designed to bring awareness to how we listen, how we hear, and what we do with the information we receive during communication. The mind is automatically programmed to protect the body and soul. It displays that through each and every encounter we experience. If any part of the body is threatened, the mind will automatically issue the flight command. The flight command to retreat to safety. Well, that same command is also deployed when our ego is threatened. The ego, yes, the ego. It's so natural and common, it happens oftentimes without us even knowing. Engaging in conversation and staying focused on what is present is considered mental fitness. It strengthens our emotions and helps us to gain control of our circumstances instead of having our circumstances overtake our thinking and our very existence. It's a difficult task to achieve because our feelings, beliefs, and desires are so strong that it causes us to totally disregard even the most common or basic reasoning. This live stream is only here to bring awareness to that subconscious process. Nothing or no one is actually wrong. However, the idea of being open to anything outside of what we've already concluded is golden, especially if the new information is transparent. The SWYM developers would like to say thanks for supporting, watching, listening, and sharing this information. Now, back to the swimming pool. Let's dive in and swim.
I was doing all that talking and you guys couldn't hear me. Let me try to start all the way over. Okay. Welcome back. This is what I said while I was gone. Thank God for my technicians who let me know I forgot to come back. Wow, that's going to be a lot of dead air. And I was actually talking about my radio experience too. You know, once upon a time, I was that dude on the radio. I had tons of fans. I had big shares. And I was just that guy. I thought I was going to be, retiring with Tom Joyner. Maybe I would have had his job. But I kind of gave up that along the way for many different reasons. I still do radio production, though. I still produce a few spots here and there. I like to write. I write script and I do voiceovers. And I'm looking for this grand radio voiceover job one day. And I believe I'm going to get it. It's just a matter of time. But anyway, I had gotten off into talking about my experience in radio and started talking about what I'm going to talk about tonight. I have 3.5 major subjects, and the last one I'm going to save for last because it's a little touching, it's a little personal, but I'm going to go there. I'm going to share it. Hey, Melanie and Christine and Kimberly are with me, and somebody else. Thank you for hanging out. But we're talking about Black history. That's where I was when I realized I was not on the air. It's amazing that we have to single out, Black history. But that's another story. I'm not going to get into that. But I want to talk about, all the Black people in America in particular that made massive and major contributions. Happy Black History Month. I'm honored and proud and all that to be of African descent. And, I guess that's just what they're giving us. I'm just kind of sort of participating in it. Maybe it's necessary, maybe it's not. But anyway, I'm just going to be proud for this month only, or maybe all the time, maybe. Anyway, but something happened in the news today that I think is so becoming. And I got a text today from a dear friend of mine who, I got a couple of texts actually, who asked me if I heard about the news. And I didn't think about it being Black History until just a few minutes ago before I came on to my live stream. But in the news, whether it was today or yesterday, Brian Flores is in the news, and I didn't see it. I'm not a big news watcher. I just kind of sort of heard about it. But Brian Flores is the former head coach for the Miami Dolphins. He was somehow let go after, the end of the season. And now he's, from what I hear, is filing a suit against maybe the NFL. I don't know. And I'm talking about what I heard. So anybody want to fact check me, feel free to do so. But he's now filing a suit, against the NFL. And I'm a sports fan, I'm a Patriot fan. Get out my face if you have a problem with that. I'm also a diehard Miami Dolphin fan. So all of my friends say, well, how can you like the Patriots? Well, because I was a Patriots fan from when I was a kid. And of course, when Tom Brady went in for Drew Bledsoe back in the day, I was just hooked for real then. But I'm a Dolphin fan, being, from South Florida now anyway, and growing up in the Carolinas. I was a Patriots fan. I like the Washington, what are they now? The Commanders now. They were close to us, but I still kind of took on to the Patriots. I still am, but that's another story. Anyway, back to the headline story. They let the man go, and now he's got a problem with it. And I think he's going to bring out something that's going to definitely make history. So my response today to my friend, when we talked about, what was going to happen, I just gave my little 2 cents. And I said, well, without knowing anything, he's going to be the new Colin Kaepernick story. That was a big thing. Colin Kaepernick, he made history, and it was massive and it was major. But slowly but surely, it just kind of died down and it went away, and we hear nothing from him. That was a big movement, and it probably should have triggered, probably what Brian Flores is going to trigger, but we'll never know. History has a way of repeating itself if we don't change it or do something about it. So my direct response was, he's going to be probably like Colin Kaepernick. Somehow or another, he made a big splash, and slowly he went away. And guess what? We don't hear from him anymore. He had a big story. It was huge. Big movement, whatever or wherever it was going. But if I hadn't said it tonight, you probably wouldn't have even thought of him again. So my prediction and my response to that is I think it's the same thing. He's going to make a big splash. It's going to be talk about it. Somebody's going to get maybe paid off or some hush money or whatever you call it. Somebody's going to put a Band-Aid over it, and then it's going to slowly go away, and maybe we won't hear from him again. And, it is what it is. That's just my little 2 cents. I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody. Anyway, so I'm just putting my 2 cents in. So that's what I think about, that as we kick off Black History Month, and for the rest of the month I will make some other tributes. I just kind of wanted to kick it off with that, and we'll see where that goes. I'm excited about it to find out what's going to happen this time. It goes without saying, there is definitely a lot of disproportionate favor, in the world, not just in the USA or America. It's just, racism and, prejudiceness is rampant. It's just terrible. It's a shame, and it's sad. And when you're at the brunt of it, can I use that for lack of a better word? When you're affected by it, there's not much you can say. For so long, people that are affected by it, there were those who stood up, and then there were those who were just kind of kept quiet. And now that we're supposedly, black people are free in America, maybe we're not supposed to say anything because, we have some rights. But there's still some things that are clearly, out of the way that are just not fair. And, nobody's going to really complain too much about it. We're going to keep moving on and keep going. So that's my 2 cents about that. Happy Black History Month. And thanks to all of those who have contributed, still contributing, and that will contribute not only to the US of A, but the entire world. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to thing number 2. Thing number 2 has to do with planning. Myself, I've been in a planning stage for, I'm going to say, the last 5 or 6 years, and it has been long and drawn out. It has changed paths so many times. I have changed my mind, not because I'm not grounded or stable, but, circumstances can't necessarily change your plan, but it can kind of change the way you do things. So, I've been in transition, with quite a few things, and just like all the rest of my life, and you hear all of the motivations about, hey, never quit, keep going, don't give up on yourself. And, I've been a little discouraged, lately with the way things have gone. It's not the first, last, or, 10th time. It's happened in the past, and, I'm just having to dig a little deep. So I solicit your well wishes and prayers, just for that extra strength and those moments when it gets tough for me. So thank you in advance if you love me, if you care about me and you want to see me do well. Thanks for the prayers and the well wishes and even the encouragement. But I'm going to give some of that back right now in saying that, it's true. We don't plan to fail. We fail to plan. And it doesn't mean we are lazy. It's just some things you just don't know, and you have to find a way. I think it was Steve Harvey. I don't know where he got it from. He said sometimes you have to jump and then grow your wings on the way down. And sometimes when you're on your way down, you can hit a cliff. You can hit turbulence even. You can hit, maybe clouds. It's so many things that can happen, as you're waiting for your parachute to open or your wings to spread so that you can eventually soar. So with that being said, I'm going to continue to encourage myself, and I'll encourage you. You know what you're going through. You know what you've been through. You know what you're going to have to go through. And I'll just say, stick it out. Stay strong. Don't abort the mission. If you have to change course, it's okay. It's like a detour in the highway. Sometimes you have to go around it. Sometimes the traffic will slow you down, but you don't stop your destination. So keep going, okay? Whew. Wow, I've got a little time left, and I'm going to go into the third thing, and I'm a little early. Man, I'm way early for this because it's going to take some time. I'm going to share something that's kind of personal and dear to me that I had no plans of doing, but I thought, why not? Why would I not just share it? I'm still having second thoughts, as I speak right now. And if you are a follower of mine, you're probably saying, well, what has he got now going on? Well, just wait a few minutes. Give me time to get up for the game, so to speak, because this is going to be a very tough subject, but I'm going to jump into it anyway. Hey, Tasha, how you doing? Glad you could make your presence known. I appreciate it. So with that being said, I want to talk about something that I experienced earlier this week. November of 2020, I lost a very close and dear friend, my former spouse, Beverly. And we were married and separated. We divorced later, but we decided to remain cordial, kind, and respectful towards each other. We had a private life during our marriage, and even after we separated, it was even more private. We remained the best of friends and even close family, even after that separation. And it's not something that I've ever talked about at all, especially not on a public forum. And I'm not talking about it tonight as much as I am doing a form of therapy for myself. And of course, I prayed about it. I consulted her spirit, and I believe I have the okay to now share my experience for the hope of maybe helping someone else, but more so even for myself. I realized that I kept a lot of things in, even from my childhood, that I discovered in my own work that I did a few years ago. And even this has been really tough for me. It was something that came, total surprise. And although we had separated and gone separate ways, physically, psychologically, and emotionally, we were still very, very close friends. And when we got the news, of her condition, it happened so fast. I did the best I could to be there for her, and saw her actually through that. And it was very trying. And of course, I didn't realize, as much as I thought I was mourning and grieving and dealing with that. And I was, and I did find peace, through that. I realized that the reality had, of course, hit, but there's different levels of that. When you go through different types of trauma, certain things will trigger those things. But I was at her gravesite early in the week. It's something that I do in my own time. I'll go out there and, people say, "What you going out to the gravesite for? They're not there." Well, I know they're not there. It's just something that we do. It's where we laid her remains, and it's the closest I can be whenever I need a word or encouragement, or just kind of need to have one of those talks with her. She was a very, very dear friend. And sometimes I will go to her final resting place, and I'll have a few moments. I do that with, my mom in particular, whenever I'm at home. Excuse me. But just earlier in the week, I went there and I noticed that her sister had indeed installed, the memorial at her site. And as many times as I've been there and brought flowers or gifts or just went there for my moment, this time was different. I'm going to need some water because I'm talking a lot. Don't move, okay? I needed that. Probably should have had it sitting right here, but I didn't. Anyway, back to my point. When I went to the site, it wasn't tough, because as I said, I'm at peace. It's just everything that happened, shortly after her passing was a total surprise. And of course, I've been, dealing with that. That's a whole nother story. The whole nother story, literally, partially in a book, but you didn't hear it from me. But being there earlier in the week and seeing that memorial just was another level of realization. I want to say closure, but I don't think it'll be something. I don't think, we don't close people that are dear to us and that pass on. And so instead of saying a closure, it was just what do I call it? The reality just hit, in a different way. So anyway, with that being said, I have some pictures. I thought I'd make it special by sharing as I continue to talk. There you are. Hey. Wow. This is really tough for me. I'm going to try to keep going. She had her place in our lives. And again, I talk a little bit about it in my book. And I go into a whole lot of detail about mainly what happened after, her passing. But this was one of those moments that affected us both, or all of us, my son, myself, and her. And I guess in our own ways, we dealt with it. I'm sure she dealt with it in her own way. I dealt with it in my way. My son dealt with it in his way. It was more tragic for him in his own way. And I guess maybe he'll write a book and tell about it or share his testimony. But it was tough for all of us. And shortly after, the separation, we decided that, we would try to salvage, at least a respectful and considerate friendship. And our family kind of sort of grew in a different way, after the legal stuff, because then we realized that, okay, it's nobody's fault. It is what it is. And we have to, continue to move on. And I commend her. And I guess I'll pat myself on the back for being as cool as we were, because people would always say, I would have never known y'all were divorced, or, something to that effect. But, we were close in our own way. I miss her dearly. And of course, she will always live in both of our hearts. I'm speaking for my son and even her family and friends and coworkers and everybody that was affected by, the tragedy, particularly the church members. I kind of posted that moment, on my social media. And one of my former church members said, wow, I didn't even know. So again, it was kind of something that I didn't blast, and I'm still not blasting it now. It's just a form of therapy for me to just talk about it. As I said, I talked about some of the personal things in my book, and I'm talking about it because I'm hoping that someone will be able to grow from it, get something from my experience. The word says we overcome by our testimony, and my sister said, that doesn't mean you tell all your business. Well, no, I'm not telling any business, as much as I am going through a healing process myself. So I thought I would have this moment as a way to, I guess, break the ice, and just kind of talk about it. I wasn't sure what I was going to say, and I'm definitely going to have a short live stream tonight, because I think I have given all that I have on this subject. So with that being said, I'm going to try to end. I don't have anyone to talk to. And I don't know, I guess if you're watching me now and you're a friend of mine, you're probably going, wow, he's actually talking about that. Well, there's quite a few things that I never talked about. And that kind of hit me, in a special way. And I don't know, being a big old dude like myself, strong and powerful and mighty, I guess maybe I feel like I'm showing weakness by pouting or crying or complaining. I don't know, maybe even being emotional. So even from a child, I held a lot of things in. And I see how that shaped and molded me in different ways, not in a bad way, but just in ways that now I'm able to start talking about it. And maybe this is what this is all about, even this live stream, to get to the point where I can start talking and maybe encourage other people to start talking. Because things we don't talk about, they have a way of affecting us in ways that we may not even realize. So if you've had any traumas or tragedies or, experiences that you've kind of tucked away, believe it or not, they are shaping your character, as we speak. And sometimes I am going to speak for myself. I didn't realize, why I was the way I was. And when I started to do the work and looking back on, my childhood and even my teen years and my 20s, 30s, and so on, I realized that there were things that I never dealt with. So I started to deal with them, and I'm still dealing with them. And I'm at least in a place to where I can look in the mirror and take full responsibility for where I am, where I'm not, and definitely where I'm heading. I do have a new direction. And as much as it gets hard sometimes, I want to quit, but I just can't. And I say I want to, not because I want to, I just feel like it sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I want to quit, but I can't. We have to keep going. People say life is very precious and we should value it a little bit more. I'm sure everybody's guilty of wasting time and not doing everything we should do. But all you can do is keep going. It's the least we can do. Life is precious. I'm grateful, to be healthy and strong today. And I don't know, I guess I'm going to leave it there and move on with that being said, where is my special? Here it is. There it is. With that being said, I guess I'm going to try to close down. I'm not going to quit, the live stream thing. Not anytime soon. I get kind of discouraged of doing this, especially when I don't have all of my fancy tools. I'm just kind of sitting, in an area that I've carved out just so that I can do this. But I really want to have my bells and whistles. But I'm just not there yet, and I'm okay with it. But I like the idea of getting content on the air, and I'm sure it's going to get better. And this is just my way of healing, just talk about talking. So take good care of yourself. Be good. Find somebody you need to say, I love you too. And don't just say it. Try to find a way to show it. Do the best you can. Yeah, I know it's tough out there, but we have to keep going. We do. And I'm speaking to myself. Again, with that being said, find somebody you need to say I love you to. Don't just say it. Find a way to show it and then do it. Okay? All right? Everybody good? Yeah? Goodbye, everybody. Christine, Melanie, Tasha, and everybody else. Appreciate you. Good night.